Good afternoon. Welcome to the Meltdown. I hope you're enjoying a pretty day here in the Houston market. It is gorgeous. Still chilly, but gorgeous. Now, I want to talk about a couple of really volatile situations, and I think there's probably more information being shared amongst people who don't know all of the facts, and I'll expound on that. JP Morgan is talking about coming out with a digital currency that will be, quote, comparable to Bitcoin. I think that Ron Paul, who's interviewed online today, doesn't really say much about the world, but of course, trying to calculate the intrinsic value of a Bitcoin would be almost as difficult as to determine the intrinsic value of the US dollar. Folks, things are bad. And if you listen to Mr. Paul talk about where the economy has gone since the Federal Reserve was created back in 1913, 100 years ago, the currency's lost 97% of its value. Still considered the world reserve currency, it's got a very important place in certain parts of the world, and in other parts of the world it's absolutely worthless. Gold, silver, oil, rare coins, certain pieces of art, jewelry, diamonds, items that have a value based on somebody authenticating and grading them seems to matter. Moving forward, I worry about the economy. I talk to people all the time. I had a gentleman in here just a few moments ago who's still accumulating silver and gold and rare coins into his portfolio. We talk about retirement. This is a client who's retired, consults periodically, came out of the oil and gas business. He's an engineer by trade. His health is starting to give up a little bit. His spouse has lost more of her health over time. And so we're talking about things and moving things around, dollars, if you will. We talked about his retirement plan and the value of an IRA or 401k or however you've set up your retirement is pretty based, it's pretty much based on where we see things today and where we see them into the future. Now, I can tell you that some of the records that I talked about, whether it's in the rare coin market or the art market or the jewelry market or the real estate market or any other market, is trying to figure out how to time the bubbles. And when you realize that bubbles are artificially created or inflated values, and one day what goes up must come down, you look for the area that hasn't really spiked yet, because that's where the real value is going to be. I talked about the General Motors debacle and the fact that the U.S. government sold off its remaining position, lost $10 billion. Today the stock was down. And I looked at my little IRA, and the only stock that I own that was up happened to be JCPenney, which is probably one of the most surprising places to see value in a recession-proof portfolio. I look for value. 15% of my IRA is in SLV and GLD. It's not very many shares. It's only about 70 shares. And yes, gold and silver had good days. The Dow was down a little bit. The dollar continued its woe, and all the currencies were up with the exception of the ruble and the peso. And so my real concern is the price of crude oil rising and the cost of gasoline dropping. And so here's the customer who's got an IRA. He's got his retirement plan. Doesn't want it in gold or silver, because if the government were truly to nationalize or, quote, go rape IRAs and self-directed pension plans and got into some situations where they were in a position of confiscating gold and silver, first of all, you've got to be a collector. That was what exempted gold collections back in 1933 when Roosevelt decided to start taking gold again. I explained to the customer that if he left his money in his IRA, and the truth came from theory to truth, and the government decided they wanted to take it, nationalize it, monetize it with their own savings bonds. There's so many issues that are out there. But if it got to a point where you lost your IRA, just like the people in Detroit lost their pension plan, 80% of it, federal pension plans are being scrutinized, statewide pension plans, all kinds of pensions are under scrutiny now because they're cash rich. And of course, if you're in a problem, you go after where the cash is. So this client, concerned about what he's got stashed in his trust in the form of the stock market, in the form of his IRA, do you liquidate the IRA, take the 30% penalty, and convert it into gold, silver, and rare coins? Because let's face it, folks, the debate over Bitcoin, the debate over JP Morgan, and the questions of impropriety about the largest bank in the United States drawing its clientele into a digital currency, that may create all kinds of problems. Now, specifically to those of you who have wealth, and you're looking to figure out how you protect it. You've got financial planners or money managers, and you're looking at real estate, or you're looking at a second home, or maybe you've got cars or art or jewelry, but you're adding gold and silver and you're adding some rare coins to your portfolio. Take the 30% hit, put the stuff in a safe or bury it in the ground. If you've got a ranch, go figure out which fence post you want to put it near and put it in the ground. Because if you put the stuff in a vacuum-packed bag, you don't have to worry about the elements. Seems a bit far-fetched, but then when you talk to young people today and tell them that interest rates were at 21% back in 1979, they think you're kidding. I listened to a couple of money managers this morning talking about the 4% yield, but after tax they're getting 8% in some municipal bonds. 8% money is pretty good. I remember 6 months ago listening to an investment conference up in, I want to say it was in New York, but it could have just been the Northeast. And one of the biggest consistent hitters in the mutual fund business was getting about 8%. Those are big numbers. And so by today's standard, we all wonder when tapering is going to begin, or when Bitcoin's going to collapse, or when General Motors is going to make its move, whatever the company is. Folks, I'm not looking for pie in the sky. I understand and follow the philosophy of $3,000 to $5,000 gold. I listen to the guys that prognosticate why there should be $10,000 gold. Heck, I can build the case for $60,000, let alone $600,000. Because if you monetize the U.S. debt to our gold holdings, this number gets astronomical. It's not going to get there. But if the dollar continues to lose its favor, if another world currency is going to pick up the slack, anything becomes possible. I'm looking at a report that's out by UBS. Now, UBS signed off on an immunity deal with the European Union over the scandal known as LIBOR. And for whatever amount of billions of dollars are tied into all this, my concern stays consistent, that people will give you information to sway your opinion into a direction. And that direction is going to assist somebody. It's always a bias. For me, talking to you, telling you why I like gold or rare coins is pretty simple. I'm a rare coin dealer. I'm into precious metals. I love diamonds. I love certain types of assets. And so when I look at an art market and I see 3 ugly paintings that command $140 million, when I hear of a Rolex watch that commands $1 million, 50 watches that bring 13 million, and that auction took place in Geneva, every single piece was a world record. Was it part of the euphoria of being in the auction room? Obviously. Is it a value-driven market for down the road? Absolutely. Because it's not the money today that these people are worried about. It's the money in a year or 2 years or 10 years. See, it's not about holding currency because nobody has a lot of faith in quote, paper. The ones that have the faith in paper are the ones that are guys that are worth billions of dollars. And so moving around millions, hundreds of millions, is a matter of being able to see the target, know that you can manipulate it. Maybe you can get a few friends involved, and we're talking about obviously very wealthy people. It's those of us that don't make up the top 1%. The ones that are worried about how they're going to make their ends meet day in and day out or month in and month out. We want to make sure that we're on a clear, concise path to do the right thing. The best laid plans sometimes get disrupted. And I can tell you firsthand that I had a plan. And I've talked to clients who have plans. And things happen, and all of a sudden the plan goes right in the toilet. So you need to have a backup. That goes without saying. And ultimately you find other friends and you regroup and you come back to the marketplace. And so when I look at rare coins or precious metals or other types of collectibles, it's always in a fashion of trying to understand what the future collector, investor, collectovestors are seeking. And it's not confusing. It's pretty simple stuff. It's always about what do we do today to take advantage of tomorrow. And since I can't tell you what the dollar is going to do any more than I can tell you what the Chinese currency or the British pound or the ruble, the peso, doesn't really matter. What I can tell you is that quantitative easing does not work. And whether you listen to a Federal Reserve chairman in San Francisco, St. Louis, or Atlanta, whether you listen to Janet Yellen, who is on the same course as Ben Bernanke, maybe worse, because she's still talking about putting the hammer down. More QE, print more currency, buy more debt. I listen to the guys on in the morning at 5 o'clock or sometimes at 4:30 overseas, and they're looking at the market, and there's billions and trillions of dollars that are moving around the world, and they move pretty quick because it's all digital. Truth of the matter is that when you get right down to it, the only thing you can bank on is what you have in your hand. Don't trust it with somebody else. You can't fall back on it and say, hey, look, I had this and now I don't. You pull up your online account, whether that's with your stock account, your bond account, whatever the account is, and you see you've got X amount of dollars of value. Folks, if there's a glitch in the system, your value goes away instantly. And so that's always of a concern. So for me, I want to have real good information. And I want to understand where the economy is headed and why it's headed in that direction. And who's got what interest in mind when they give you the information that something's going to happen. Look, I can't tell you that gold's going to be $2,000 next March 14th. Can't do it. I can tell you that I perceive the trend to indicate that there is a great upside. We're probably facing near 50% upside. I can tell you the downside gets us a 500% drop. We go back to the 250 range. Heck, I remember in 1933, just for my history books, that gold was at 20 bucks an ounce. So things change, and they change drastically, and they change quickly. Just like the metals today. The XAU was up 3.39. It's a good return. The gold to silver ratio went below 62 to 1. Those are all positive. Silver was up 2.7%. Market still trading in the aftermarket. What all of that means in its true entirety is that gold and silver are biblical metals, and that you want to own rare coins, and you want to own them between $3,000 and $5,000 an ounce. And the reason is simple. You get a lot of rarity, and you don't have to pay an exorbitant premium. I understand why clients don't want to spend $10,000 on a silver dollar, in spite of the fact it might be a really great deal. It's the fact that you can look at silver and you realize that there's the spot market's trading at $20.50, and that based on 0.77%, that's about $15.50 silver content in an old Morgan or peace dollar, $10,000 would seem really expensive. But if it's a $10,000 coin dealer to dealer and you're buying it at the dealer price, that's a great deal. Your comfort level will dictate what you believe and what you don't believe. It's kind of like when you write a check or you pay your credit card online. You perceive the value of the dollars to cover what you were spending, and that's a value. Okay, I don't see it the same way. I don't think paper is the place to put your money, in spite of the fact that I've got some diversification in the stock market. My true concern out over time is that things change drastically, and the only real money is in the form of U.S. coins. There are some great foreign coins. There's some great ancient Roman coins. That's not the area of expertise that I've got. My area of expertise is truly in the U.S. coin market. I had a stock that I paid a couple of dollars for per share. It's now a penny stock, but it went from 11 cents to 14. I know I'm supposed to be excited about it. It doesn't excite me enough. What matters to me is when I look at the price of gold at $1,200 or $1,300 an ounce, and I can buy one coin that may only be one of a couple hundred known to exist, and I'm paying a premium of about 250%. That's rarity. That's a really rare coin. I want those types of coins. I want my clients to own them. And I want to recommend things that maintain liquidity, but offer you a fail-safe and give you the opportunity to get out. If you've got questions, if you don't quite get a grasp of everything that I'm talking about, it's simple to understand. Go to the meltdown.com, click on the links page, and that will send you to Eagle Numismatics or the Gold Exchange or TexasCommemorative.com or US Commem. And understand that the myriad of coins that are out there, 9,000 different US coins in 20 different conditions when the coins have been graded, allows you to understand the market's 180,000 coins across. And then there's billions of coins. So there are coins that you're going to pick and choose and own that are very common that you can track because of the limited amount of knowledge that you've got. But ask questions. Find out why dealers believe a third, and a third is a great program to embrace. Understand that today's rarity will be rarer coins in the future because more people will be seeking them. The population of U.S. coin collectors continues to grow because the economy continues to throw a lot of false messages. And it's those false messages that allow me to be able to sit back, consult, and talk to you so that you understand the reasons why we do what we do. Folks, it's important to get your hands around the fact that what needs to happen is a clear, concise path to protect your liquidity, to protect your dollars. So if you've got stocks, if you've got bonds, if you've got other assets, and you have not diversified, whether you accept the old school rule when I was in high school and college, you put 5% of your net worth away. Today, I hear guys talk about 20 to 40% of your net worth. Own a myriad of coins. Own different types of coins in different qualities. That way you can substantiate that you're collecting and not just straight out hoarding. Hoarding was illegal when Roosevelt confiscated gold on May the 1st, 1933. This is not the same patriotic nation. And subsequently to the 1930s, here we are 80 years later, and the same presentation is coming, it's just at a different time. It's important to own a third, and a third. I'm going to hedge the bet within the portfolio because the more different positions you take, the better the chances are from a total shot. If gold drops $100 an ounce tonight, and you wake up in the morning and you've got 1,000 ounces of gold theoretically, and you see that kind of a hit, I mean, back in 1929, guys jumped out of office buildings. Well, I don't want you waking up in the middle of the night freaked out over what you did. This is the time where you ask questions, you send me an email, you read something on somebody else's site, you just want some clarification. Let me do the research for you. Email me, Brett, B-R-E-T-T, at thegoldexchange.net. That's Brett with two T's, B-R-E-T-T, at thegoldexchange.net. You can call me at 281-548-2646, or you can call me toll free at 877-705-2646. Hit option 0, that way you won't get trapped in the phone system. Folks, it's an important time to ask questions. It's important to get on the bandwagon before everybody else turns and runs. It's the herd mentality that costs people the most amount of money. This is the time to think through what you're thinking to do, or just ask more questions of me. Anyway, short show. I want to be able to talk to a couple of folks that I've been waiting to call back this afternoon. I never get off air without thanking Texas Children's Hospital, both the Downs Clinic and the Ronald McDonald House. Now, Texas Children's Hospital, as so many charitable 501c3s are doing at this time of year, they're trying to raise gifts to give to children. So Texas Children's is the place that I support the most. I love the people there. 500 kids between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Please, if you can provide a gift for a little boy or a little girl, go by the Fannin address, drop something off at the West Tower. If you need someone to coordinate and you want to make a bigger drop off, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to help coordinate that. I was there yesterday and dropped off about 20 items for boys and girls. If you click it on the meltdown.com, I've got 2 donation banners. One is to the Downs Clinic. My son Jason has mild Downs. And ultimately, Dr. Ostermeyer and her staff at the Meyer Center help many different disabilities, Downs and autism, just 2 of them. But if you click on the banner, put in your information, make a donation or a tithe, or just a simple offering, I would certainly appreciate it. The Ronald McDonald House at Texas Children's. Now, there's a facility here in Houston that's 50 rooms off the Texas Children's campus, but inside the hospital on the 4th floor, there are 20 rooms, houses between 40 and 60 people every night. It's so that family members can visit their children in the middle of the night, or maybe they want to go back and lay down and get some rest. If you can provide a hot meal, please call 832-824-8600. That's 832-824-8600. Nancy Allen and her staff would be more than happy to help accommodate food donations or obviously a tithe or an offering. And folks, I appreciate the doctors, the nurses, the staff, and the volunteers so much at Texas Children's, throughout the medical center, throughout the world. Children need our help. Anyway, I appreciate you listening. We'll be back tomorrow sometime between 9 and 9:30, I hope. Appreciate you listening in. If you've got questions, I've given you the opportunity to reach out to me. Have a great evening. God bless you all.